Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Cavanagh and Michael Rooker about Corrective Measures, which is going to be available April 29th on Tubi. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
This is so exciting. It's an honor and privilege to be speaking to both of you. So thank you so much for your time. Tom, we were talking a little bit before we started. It's pretty cool because, you know, this is a film, both of you have worked in the geek culture, comic book culture worlds in the past. This one's like focusing on supervillains, but it's kind of subtle. It's not that obvious if you kind of go in fresh. What was it like kind of working on a film like this where like the supervillains were kind of the focal point a little bit, Tom?
Well, I think that I think it's interesting. Like the way we were talking earlier was like either you're a trailer guy or you're not a trailer guy. And what's interesting is like here's a perfect example. If I'm looking at Rooker knows I'm a fan of his, and I like to follow him around and like write everything he says down in my book. Which is super annoying when it's 2:00 in the morning for Rooker. But here's the thing.
Tom, you just woke me up, man. What do you want now?
Michael, how would you say, hey, here's a $20 tip for the pizza? No, but so listen. So Guardians, right? Yep. With the whistling, I don't want to know that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've been a fan of Rooker for years. And when I see he's in this, I'm like, I don't want to know. I want him to show up. And I don't want to know what I'm going to get, you know? And so I'm not a trailer guy. I don't want to know that this person is going to do this thing, you know? And this thing is a kind of I think a solid movie to go into fresh. Because first off, prison, the prison break genre, that's always kind of great, I think. Yep, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so if you have a new twist on it with the fact that like Michael has to like oversee a group of people who not only are they kind of like, malicious human beings to begin with, but also they can blow crap up. Mm-hmm. So that complicates your day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Michael, it's very interesting kind of to add to that a little bit, this landscape of superheroes, supervillains. You seem to enjoy working in this genre. And I'm just wondering, what is something you enjoy the most about diving into the world, like the geek culture, comic book culture worlds? Like, I'm curious about that specifically.
I enjoy working in all genres.
Yep.
Anybody who's willing to pay me, I'm into your genre. So, well, not all genres, but most. Okay. And I go to go back to that trailer thing.
Yeah.
Dude. They give way too much away in trailers these days.
Yeah.
You see the trailer, that's an art in itself. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want to see the whole movie. Okay. Yeah.
Tom, we created a monster. We created a supervillain here against the trailer.
Well, Michael's right. Like, how many times have you sat through a movie trailer that you weren't going to go to, so you watched it, and then you're finished 4 minutes later, you're like, well, I just saw the movie.
Well, Michael, to be at the devil's advocate, love on monsters, I love the trailer. I didn't maybe want to watch the movie. I'm just saying.
No, that's what the trailer should do.
Yeah.
It should make you want to watch the movie to see more.
Yeah.
But don't give them more before you watch the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes you meet actors that you've never met before, and big names, small names, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you're like, halfway through the conversation, you're like, dude, save it for the stage. Mm-hmm. Okay? Save it. Okay. Chill out a minute.
I love going in fresh though. Yeah. That's one of my things. Yeah. Like, doing a lot of these interviews, you get to watch things without the trailer out, right? Because you're watching it like 2 months in advance. The trailer's not even out. I enjoy that better.
That's good for you. Yeah, that's good for you. So what was your question?
You established you enjoy working in a lot of genres, but it's just, is there something that you like the most about just the kind of the superhero, supervillain stuff as well? Because I'm just like, you've worked on a lot of projects in that genre.
Well, you get to use your imagination even more.
Yep.
Even more.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a spaceship in front of you, dude, and it's a cardboard box. And sometimes there's an actual spaceship. They got enough budget, like Guardians of the Galaxy. We were actually in a bloody ride, spaceship. And the thing could go 360, and it could go, "Bleh," and then the director's telling us what's going on. You don't have to tell us what's going on. We're doing it. Get out of here, you know. But it's beautiful. It had real buttons and it had real lights, and it was like being on pitch it, right?
No, absolutely.
On a Disney ride. Okay, done. I did it. Okay, move on.
Tom, it's interesting too, because this one, you know, supervillains and everything, and, you know, penitentiary, like a prison and everything. I'm just curious when you kind of started notice, because you worked on The Flash, you know, you directed, you started it. I mean, when did you notice the boom of this like geek culture, comic book culture? It's always been around, but I used to get made fun of. I'm a 90s kid. When I used to wear, you know, a Spider-Man shirt, I'd get teased all the time. Yeah. And that's like not the case. When did you start noticing that?
Well, it's interesting.
Shift?
I would say, like, you know, the domain of I've watched, like, not just it went along with the advances, I think, in technology. You know, like for a while, some of these stories were the domain of the big screen, largely because they could afford it. And even when I started directing The Flash, you know, you'd want to do a shot and they'd be like, we can't do it. So yeah. You know, and then the technology advances, and right now you're in this kind of zone where, you know, I directed the Superman and Lois finale, and we had, like, you know, millions of dollars. It's not the same thing as Guardians, but you can, with the talent, and a lot of times it's youthful talent,
yep.
Putting these things together. If you cobble together a vision, they can do it for you in a way that it isn't, you know, like, you don't have to like turn your head and kind of fake it, which always on television, there was kind of this, there was a tinny quality, and understandably so, because you just didn't have the budget for it. And I've watched that escalate even in the last decade, to go from, you know, I think a lot of what Marvel has done has yanked things into the mainstream, you know, yeah. Where it's kind of cool to have the knowledge, you know, that that used to be the purview of people like yourselves. You know, that was your thing in your basement, you know what I mean? And then now it's like it's Comic-Con, it's mainstream. And I think having the biggest names like Michael, and, you know, like all the people that do, you know, these Marvel things, like, mm-hmm. you know, Downey Jr., who used to be an indie guy, yep. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he's Iron Man, you know, and the mainstream stars like Evans and stuff like that. Yeah. Like, you know, Vince came from, like, you know, the smaller things that they're all like, it's a mainstream, and the biggest names in the film business are doing them. And so necessarily it becomes kind of your mainstream thing. And my question to you is, like, did it get so big and so popular that you missed the days when it was sort of your baby?
A bit. I think it's weird, to be honest with you.
Do you miss the magic though? I know you're getting into, we are super advanced now. Yeah. They can make anything look as real as real. Yeah. So, but is it really a little bit too much?
I'll put it this way.
They have movies on making the movie now.
But it's also the quantity, Tom. But Tom's point too is technology is so advanced that you can also make a lot of movies now, right? And people are interested in that. Tom, like, I remember the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, right? That was like the talk of the town for my whole class, you know, wanting to go see that for like a birthday party, because there wasn't that many of them out. You know what I mean? They would come out a little bit. That was the whole thing. So I feel like that's a thing too. There's so many now. Like you said, it's popular culture now, the superhero genre.
What becomes like
there were 3-year-olds doing the Spider-Man pose.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But I mean, social media, like streaming services too, like Tubi. This is exciting. Your movie Corrective Measures is premiering April 29th on Tubi. This is a newer streaming platform and everything. Does that also allow? There's more avenues and vehicles for these movies to come out on too, right?
That's been going on for a while now.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, wow. They didn't even have video back when I started. Holy Jesus Christ. Dude, cell phones. My cell phone was a big block. Like it weighed like 5 pounds, and you put it over your shoulder like a backpack, Now it's just simply amazing. You know what? I just recently, a few years back, I did Black Ops 2. It's it was a very popular game, and that was so refreshing even back then, because our technology has advanced so much. And then all of a sudden you get in there and you do this game, you got to do motion capture and everything. Yep. And your gun is like a piece of wood, and the ship is literally a cardboard box.
Yep.
And your helmet is a bowl that's cut off, and you put it over your head, and they do it all in the computer.
Yeah.
So, but as the actor, that was like one of the first, well, not the first time, but that was the first time in a long time that I got to actually use my imagination.
100%.
With the props themselves. And it was refreshing and a lot of bloody fun.
100%. But Tom, I'm just curious from the director, like when you started directing projects, right? Was that when you kind of started to see a lot of what Michael said, like the other side of things, or when you were acting, maybe you were having conversations with directors and producers and you kind of always thought about those things, but was it when you started directing where you're really thinking about kind of the landscape of how these movies are made and how they're going to be changed over time?
No, I would say not. I think the thing that always, the starting point for me is always, I had a friend say, put it way better than I could put it. And he said, back when Robert Patrick went through the chopper, morphed into the cockpit seat in T2, he's like, he said, when Robert Patrick did that, I realized, we can do anything.
Yep.
So now we better make sure we tell a good story. So it's always stuck with me. It's like, you know what? Okay. So no matter what all the stuff is, if Michael's my lead, he's going to be the vessel that tells the story. And I've never lost track of it. That's always, to me, it doesn't really matter, if the explosion's no good, but if the explosion's great, but Michael's not convincing, it doesn't matter. But if Michael's convincing, the explosion's not great, we're fine, And so it really is that. It's always that. Even like back in the day, it doesn't matter. Like even when I was watching this John Ford thing recently, and it was ridiculous what these guys were doing. They had nothing in terms of the stuff that we have, and it looks great. And one of the reasons it looks great is like the bad guys are bad, the good guys are good, and the obstacles they have to overcome are formidable, And so there you go. There's a good story.
And with that being said, I watched many a Western and other movies that deal with violence, knives or guns and stuff like that, and many times the guy got shot and died, and I did not see an ounce of blood, and I still believed everything that was going on.
Oh no, absolutely.
Now we got the guts are coming out, and you get the entry wound and the exit wound, and and they still do it wrong, headshots, boom, and the guy's still you don't twitch after a headshot, babe. It's done. You're done. You go, you drop, boom, that's it.
No, absolutely.
It's not dramatic. It's not even, it's kind of like, oh well.
Absolutely. Well, no, there's
headshot. Ow.
There's so much happening, and I can't wait for people to see your film Corrective Measures April 29th on Tubi, because there's a lot happening. You all do such a great job in it. Tom, Michael, thank you so much for your time and coming on Pop to chat about Corrective Measures. This is great.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.